The sky darkens, the wind sharpens, and a restless energy begins to move through the air. Far in the distance, thunder rolls like the beating of a giant drum, steady and deep, calling something ancient into motion. Then, the first streak of lightning splits the sky, tearing the horizon in two. This is her arrival. Oya, the fierce Orisha who rides the storm, cloaked in wind, crowned with thunder, and armed with the kind of power that does not ask for permission. Where she moves, the air itself obeys. Where she stands, the ground trembles. She is not a gentle breeze, she is the cyclone, the whirlwind, the force that strips away what is dead so that life may begin again. In Yoruba cosmology, Oya is more than a goddess of weather. She is the living embodiment of transformation itself. She commands the tempests, sweeps through the marketplace of human affairs, and stands at the gates of the cemetery where the living and the dead exchange their final words. She is change-made flesh, not the slow, patient kind, but the sudden upheaval that demands you either move forward or be swept aside. Oya's presence is never passive. When she comes to rearrange the world. But why does change so often arrive like a storm? Why does the moment of transformation feel, at first, like destruction? Oya teaches that there can be no renewal without disruption, no births without the breaking of the old shell. Storms do not ask if you are ready, they test if you are willing. And in that violence, in that blinding flash and deafening roar, the path is cleared for something new. She is the truth that the same winds that knock you down can also lift you up if you learn how to ride them. This is the journey we will take. Through myth and history, across the windswept plains of West Africa, and into the hearts of the Diaspora, where her name still dances on the tongues of those who call her mother. We will meet Oya in the thunder and at the market stall, in the cemetery and in the hearts of those standing at the edge of change. This is the story of the one who cannot be stopped, the one who commands the storm, the one who holds the keys to endings and beginnings alike. And once you know her, you will never mistake the wind for just the wind again. In the vast spiritual universe of Yoruba cosmology, the Orishas are not distant, untouchable gods, but living forces of nature and divine principles that shape the human experience. Among them, Oya stands as one of the most formidable. She is not merely an Orisha of wind and storms, she is a guardian of thresholds, a mistress of transformation, and a fierce protector of truth. Her domain touches both the tangible and the unseen, the restless skies above, the bustling marketplace in the heart of town, and the silent city of the dead beyond the veil. She is the embodiment of change, and in the Yoruba worldview, change is not an inconvenience, it is a cosmic necessity. Oya's origins are rooted in myth, her birth shrouded in the mystery of elemental creation. Some traditions speak of her as emerging from the breast of the world itself, born of the winds that first stirred when Olodumare, the supreme creator, set the universe into motion. Others tell of her as a river spirit linked to the Niger River called Odo Oya, which carries her name to this day. In this telling, her waters are both life-giving and unpredictable, flowing calmly one moment and surging violently the next. Whether as wind or water, her essence is movement, a refusal to be still, a power that transforms whatever it touches. Her divine attributes are many. She is the wielder of the whirlwind, the bringer of lightning, and the one who sweeps away the stagnant to make room for the new.
She is associated with the buffalo, a symbol of strength, ferocity, and untamed spirit. She carries the machete or sword, instruments of both protection and decisive action. Her colors, often deep wine, brown, purple, or even the brilliant rainbow, reflect her layered personality, shifting from fierce warrior to nurturing mother, from merciless destroyer to compassionate guide. Oya's relationships with other Orishas reveal her complexity and her central role in the Yoruba pantheon. She is most famously linked with Shango, the Orisha of thunder, lightning, and fire. Their union is one of passion, power, and storm-like intensity, a meeting of elemental forces that can ignite the skies. Together they represent the explosive combination of wind and fire, capable of reshaping the world. Yet Oya is not defined solely by this partnership. In some traditions, she is also connected to Ogun, the Orisha of iron and war, drawn to his strength and unyielding nature. These alliances show her affinity for power and action, aligning her with those who shape destiny through force and will. Despite her fierce nature, Oya is not chaos without purpose. In the Yoruba understanding of the universe, creation and destruction are not opposites, but partners in a continuous cycle. Oya's storms may tear down, but only to clear the way for something new to be built. Her winds may scatter, but they also carry seeds to fertile ground. Without her, stagnation would choke life. With her, transformation is inevitable. She is the force that ensures the balance between life and death, between beginnings and endings, remains unbroken. In this way, Oya occupies a vital place in the Yoruba spiritual system. She is a reminder that the forces which unsettle us are often the very ones that free us. Her origins speak to her role as a cosmic agent of change, born from the breath and blood of nature itself, tied to the Orishas who shape reality, and committed to the eternal work of renewal. To know Oya is to understand that nothing stays the same, and that this is not a curse, but a gift. In the Yoruba world, her name is not feared in silence. It is spoken with respect, awe, and the knowledge that when she moves, life itself must move with her. In Yoruba culture, storms are not just meteorological events. They are messages, signs that the natural and spiritual worlds are in motion. A sudden gust of wind, a darkening sky, the roll of thunder in the distance, all signal that forces greater than human understanding are at work. Storms are the language of change, the visible face of unseen shifts in the balance of power. Within this worldview, Oya is recognized as the mistress, the Orisha, who commands the winds and the tempests, shaping their arrival and directing their force. To witness a storm is, in a sense, to witness Oya moving through the world. The wind itself is deeply symbolic in Yoruba cosmology. It is breath, life force, and it is also movement, the carrier of voices, scents, and omens. It can whisper gently or roar with unrestrained fury, and Oya governs this entire spectrum. When she exhales gently, the air cools, the leaves rustle, and the world feels refreshed. When she exhales with force, the air becomes a weapon, tearing branches from trees, lifting roofs, and sweeping away all that cannot withstand her energy. She is both the soft breeze that stirs the soul and the hurricane that reshapes the landscape. The storms Oya commands carry layers of meaning. They are cleansing forces, washing away the old and stagnant, making way for the new. But they are also warnings, reminders that nothing in the material world is permanent and that nature will always have the final word. In traditional belief, her tempests are never random. A storm that comes without a rain might signal unrest or the presence of spirits. Lightning flashing in a clear sky could be a sign that the Orishas are making themselves known. In all cases, Oya is the one directing the wind's message, the deciding when and how it will speak. Her control over the weather is not limited to the physical. It extends to the storms that move within people, the emotional tempests, the conflicts, the restless desire for change. In this way, Oya's storms are as much internal as they are external. She is called upon in times of upheaval, when old structures need to be dismantled and new paths forged. Her energy can provoke confrontation, not for the sake of chaos, but to force truths into the open. She is as present in the clash of ideas as in the clash of clouds. The duality of Oya's power is what makes her both feared and revered. She is a destroyer, and there is no denying the violence of her storms. Crops can be flattened, homes damaged, lives disrupted. Yet within the Yoruba understanding, destruction is not without purpose. Just as fire clears the forest floor for the new growth, Oya's tempests clear away what is dead or diseased in order to restore balance. Her winds do not discriminate between what we want to keep and what we are ready to release. They take what must go. This impartiality is what makes her change unstoppable and ultimately sacred. And when the storm has passed, there is a strange kind of silence, not empty, but full of potential. The air is clearer, the earth renewed, the spirit humbled and sharpened. This is Oya's gift, the reminder that endings are the soil in which beginnings take root. She is not a goddess who offers comfort in stagnation. She offers the challenge of movement, the inevitability of transformation. In every gust, in every storm cloud, she carries the truth that we cannot grow without first being shaken. To understand Oya is to see storms not as disasters, but as the necessary breath of the world, fierce, cleansing, and utterly alive. In Yoruba society, the marketplace is more than a center of trade. It is the beating heart of community life, a crossroads where destinies intersect. It is where goods are exchanged, but also where news, alliances, and relationships are formed. Markets are living, breathing entities pulsing with human energy, negotiation, and the unseen flow of spiritual forces. In this dynamic space of commerce and community, Oya reigns as guardian and protector. She is not simply a patron of material prosperity, she is the regulator of the market's spiritual equilibrium, ensuring that the exchange of goods remains aligned with the exchange of energy. Oya's association with the marketplace stems from her nature as an agent of movement and change. Markets, like storms, are places of constant transformation. Nothing stays in one place for long. Goods arrive, are sold, and are replaced by others. Buyers and sellers come and go. Fortunes shift daily. This constant flux mirrors Oya's own restless energy, and it is said that her presence ensures the vitality and fairness of these exchanges. Without her protection, the market risks becoming a place of imbalance, vulnerable to dishonesty, greed, and spiritual corruption. As protector of commerce, Oya's influence extends beyond physical goods to the social energy that animates the market. In Yoruba cosmology, every interaction carries a spiritual charge, and in a place as bustling as the market, those energies can easily become tangled. Oya's role is to cut through deceit, to sweep away malicious forces, and to safeguard those who conduct their dealings with honesty. She is believed to watch over the fair trader and to punish the one who cheats, not necessarily through immediate visible means, but often through a gradual unraveling of fortune. Those who seek Oya's favor in business often make offerings before setting out for the market or opening their stores. These offerings may include 9 coins, symbolizing her number, or items in her colors, placed at crossroads or near the marketplace entrance. Fresh produce, wine, and cloth are also common gifts, acknowledging her dual role as provider and protector. Rituals to honor her may involve prayers for strong sales, safe transactions, and protection from envy or spiritual attack. For some, consultation with a diviner before an important market day ensures that their path aligns with her blessings. There are also taboos associated with Oya's domain and the market. Cheating customers, manipulating prices unfairly, or engaging in trade that brings harm to the community is said to draw her disfavor. Disrespecting elders or ignoring the established market hierarchy can also disrupt her protection. In extreme cases, it is believed that those who repeatedly dishonor the sacred nature of exchange may find themselves swept out of business altogether, a metaphorical storm clearing their stall. Oya's guardianship of the marketplace is a reminder that commerce is never purely material. Every transaction is also a spiritual act, a moment where trust, integrity, and mutual respect are either upheld or broken. She teaches that prosperity is not born from greed, but from the healthy flow of resources and goodwill. In honoring her within the market, traders honor the deep truth that abundance, like the wind she commands, must move freely to be sustained. In Yoruba cosmology, death is not an end but a passage, a crossing from one form of existence into another. The living, the dead, and the yet unborn form a continuous circle, and the point of transition between these realms is sacred and closely guarded. Oya stands at this threshold as its fearless gatekeeper. She is not death itself, but the one who guides, witnesses, and clears the way for those making the journey from the world of the living to the ancestral realm. In her hands rests the power to open or close the gates, to usher spirits onward, and to ensure that the balance between the two worlds remains intact. Oya's association with death is deeply symbolic. Just as her storms clear away what is no longer needed in the physical world, she clears the path for souls whose time has come. The cemetery in this sense is not merely a place of mourning, but a liminal space, a borderland where the seen and unseen meet. In many Yoruba traditions, Oya is invoked in rituals that take place at grave sites or in sacred groves near the resting places of the dead. Her presence there is both protective and guiding, ensuring that spirits are not trapped, lost, or wandering. As the guardian of this passage, Oya's role is not only to assist the departed, but also to safeguard the living from harmful spiritual interference. The Yoruba understanding of death acknowledges that not all spirits cross peacefully. Some may linger due to unresolved conflicts, improper rites, or sudden death. Oya, as the mistress of the cemetery gates, can drive away restless forces or carry them to their proper place. Her fierce winds are said to scatter the shadows that might otherwise cling to the living, ensuring that grief does not become spiritual entanglement. Funeral rites within Yoruba culture often carry her influence. While each family or lineage may have its own customs, many include prayers and offerings to Oya to ensure a smooth journey for the deceased. Certain items like cloth in her colors or symbolic tools may be placed with the body or at the grave to mark her guardianship. Drumming, chanting, and the calling of ancestral names are common, for Oya is not just the keeper of death, but also the one who maintains the connection between ancestors and their descendants. To honor her in such moments is to honor the belief that death is transformation, not disappearance. Ancestral veneration is closely tied to her role. Oya's winds are believed to carry messages between the living and the dead. In times of personal crisis, practitioners may call upon her to open the way for communication with ancestors, seeking guidance, blessings, or reconciliation. This role reinforces her identity as a liminal figure, not bound to one realm, but moving freely between them, carrying truths and ensuring order. Her position as a gatekeeper also speaks to her fearlessness. In many cultures, death is feared, avoided in thought and conversation. Oya stands directly in its presence, unflinching. She teaches that there is no growth without endings, no renewal without release. The cemetery under her watch is not simply a place of loss, but a place of continuity. A reminder that every ending is also a beginning in another form. In the diaspora traditions of Santeria and Candomblé, her association with the cemetery remains central. Known as Oya or Yansan, she is honored in rituals at crossroads, graveyards, and during commemorations of the dead. Her role as a warrior and a guide ensures that even in distant lands, her storms still sweep through the thresholds of life and death, carrying the souls of the departed into the arms of their ancestors. To stand at the cemetery gates with Oya is to understand that endings are not to be feared, but to be respected and met with dignity. She embodies the truth that the line between life and death is not a wall, but a door, and she holds the keys. The stories of Oya are as wild and untamed as the winds she commands, each tale carrying the rhythm of thunder and the scent of rain. In the oral traditions of the Yoruba people, she emerges as a figure of unmatched courage, cunning, and transformative power. A warrior, a queen, a lover, and a force of nature in her own right. Her myths are not quiet parables. They are storms made into stories filled with fire, lightning, and the relentless push toward change. One of the most famous legends speaks of Oya as a warrior who fought alongside Shango, the Orisha of thunder and lightning. Their relationship is said to have been as passionate as it was volatile, a union of wind and fire that could ignite the skies. Oya was not content to be a passive consort. She fought in Shango's battles, wielding her machete with precision, her winds scattering enemies before they could strike. In some tellings, it is she who gave Shango the secret of summoning lightning, a gift that elevated his power and solidified their bond. Yet their love was not without conflict, for both were fierce and unwilling to yield. Their arguments, like their love, were storms that could shake kingdoms. Another story tells of Oya's transformation from a mortal woman into an Orisha. In this vision, she was a powerful queen whose wisdom and strategic mind made her a formidable leader. She sought knowledge from the unseen world, journeying to the edges of life and death until she crossed entirely into the realm of the spirits. It was there, at the threshold, that she gained dominion over the winds and the power to guide souls. Her transformation was not gentle. It was the shedding of one life for another, a complete surrender to the calling of destiny. Oya's role in major mythic events often centers on her ability to bring decisive change at crucial moments. In some accounts, she is the one who breaks open the gates of the ancestral realm when they have been unjustly sealed, allowing trapped souls to pass into peace. In others, she sweeps through corrupt cities with her storms, toppling leaders who have defied the divine order. Her interventions are rarely subtle. When Oya acts, the world feels it. One particularly striking tale describes a time of great drought when the earth cracked and the rivers shrank to dust. The people prayed to many Orishas, but the skies remained closed. Finally, they called to Oya, who came riding on a whirlwind, her presence shaking the parched ground. With a cry, she split the clouds and unleashed a storm so fierce that the rivers swelled overnight. Yet in her tempest, she also uprooted old trees, tore down crumbling houses, and forced the people to rebuild. It was a reminder that blessings often arrive with challenges, and that Oya never brings one without the other. Through these myths, Oya emerges as a figure who refuses to be contained by a single role. She is a lover who fights beside her partner, a queen who transforms into a goddess, a stormbringi who delivers both destruction and renewal. In every story, her essence is the same. She arrives when the moment demands courage, truth, and the clearing away of what no longer serves. To hear her legends is to understand why the Yoruba say that when Oya moves, the world must move with her or be swept away. When the Yoruba people were forcibly taken from their homeland during the transatlantic slave trade, they carried their orishas with them, not in their hands, but in their hearts, their songs, and their rituals. Among these divine forces was Oya, whose winds crossed the ocean alongside her people. In the Americas, she took on new forms and names, adapting to survive in lands where African spiritual traditions were suppressed, yet never extinguished. In the religions of the African diaspora, particularly Santeria in Cuba and Candomblé in Brazil, Oya continues to be revered, her fierce energy flowing through ceremonies, dances, and prayers just as it did in West Africa. In Santeria, she is known as Oya, the Orisha of winds, storms, and the cemetery gates. Her image and attributes remain strikingly similar to those in Yoruba tradition. The warrior's machete, the swelling skirts representing the wind, the colors of deep maroon, brown, and purple. Yet in Cuba, Oya became syncretized with Catholic saints as a means of disguising her worship from colonial authorities. She is most often associated with Saint Teresa of Avila, a figure known for her fiery spirit and mystical visions, whose Catholic feast day and attributes provided a protective mask for Oya's ceremonies. This blending allowed the devotion to her to continue under the gaze of a watchful church, preserving her essence while adapting her outward appearance. In Brazil's Candomblé, she is celebrated as Yansan, a name that rolls like wind across the tongue. Here, her presence is felt most vividly in the dramatic dances that reenact her control of storms and her battles beside Shango, known as Zango in Portuguese. Dancers, dressed in her colors, whirl and strike as though summoning the very gusts that define her nature. The music, heavy with drums and rapid rhythms, mirrors the sudden bursts and swells of the wind. Ritual offerings may include red wine, copper objects, or spicy foods, all of which speak to a fiery and transformative nature. In this context, Iyansa is also closely tied to the spirits of the dead, much like in Yoruba belief, and her role as gatekeeper between worlds remains central. Across the African diaspora, Oya's identity continued to evolve in dialogue with local traditions and histories. In African American communities, especially among practitioners of Hoodoo and modern African traditional religions, she's honored as a symbol of female strength, transformation, and protection against injustice. Her association with the cemetery made her a powerful ally for those working with ancestral spirits, while her control over storms resonated with the struggle and resilience of people who endured centuries of displacement and oppression. What is remarkable about Oya's journey across the Atlantic is how she maintained her core identity while absorbing new layers of meaning. In every form, whether as Oya in Santeria, Iyansa in Candomblé, or Oya in modern diasporic worship, she remains the wind that cannot be captured, the storm that reshapes the land, and the fearless guardian of life's most sacred thresholds. Her survival in the Americas is a testament not only to her own power, but to the resilience of the people who refused to let her name be forgotten. In her, the old and the new meet, just as wind carries the memory of where it has been, even as it rushes toward where it must go. In the modern world, where the pace of change can feel both overwhelming and unstoppable, Oya's presence resonates as deeply as it did in the days when her storms were invoked on the banks of the Niger River. She stands as a timeless symbol of feminine power, not the kind that conforms or quiets itself to fit into expectations, but the kind that moves mountains, tears down walls, and makes space for something better. Oya does not ask for permission to change what must be changed. She commands it. For women, especially those navigating spaces that seek to diminish their strength, she is a reminder that fierceness and compassion can live in the same heart. and that destruction, when necessary, is an act of love for what comes next. Her connection to justice is equally vital. In Yoruba tradition, Oya is not a passive observer of wrongs. She is an active force in setting them right. Like the winds that sweep through a corrupt marketplace, or the storms that clear a path through tangled undergrowth. Her energy is direct, unapologetic, and often uncomfortable for those who cling to the old order. In a time when injustice persists in both visible and hidden forms, Oya's example encourages the courage to confront it, not timidly, but with the unstoppable force of a storm. For activists, advocates, and anyone working to dismantle systems of harm, she embodies the truth that sometimes the only way to heal is to tear down what is rotten to its roots. On a personal level, Oya's energy speaks to transformation, the kind that is rarely neat or easy. In life, there are moments when the familiar must be swept away, when comfort must give way to growth, and when endings must be embraced so that beginnings can arrive. Oya is the ally for such times. She teaches that transformation is not a gentle unfolding, but a process that may shake your foundations and test your resilience. Yet, if you can withstand her winds, you emerge not broken, but remade. Modern devotees often turn to her during life transitions. A career change, the end of a relationship, a shift in identity, seeking her guidance in releasing the old and stepping fully into the new. Her relevance today is also deeply tied to movements for empowerment, particularly for women and marginalized communities. In many places, Oya has become a symbol for those reclaiming their heritage, their voice, and their power. Her image and stories appear in art, literature, and music, often as a call to action or a declaration of resilience. She inspires not only spiritual practitioners, but also those in secular spaces who draw on her archetype as a warrior of truth and transformation. Oya matters because she embodies the inevitability of change and the necessity of courage. In a world grappling with climate upheaval, political unrest, and social transformation, she stands as both a warning and a promise that what is unsustainable will be swept away, and that what is meant to thrive will take root in the open space left behind. Her winds still blow, her storms still gather, and for those willing to face them, they remain a force of liberation. Oya is the wind that stirs the still air, the storm that shatters what has outlived its purpose, and the guardian who stands between worlds, ensuring that the dance of life, death, and rebirth never ceases. She is the market's watchful eye, the cemetery's fearless keeper, the tempestuous lover of Shango, and the unyielding force that sweeps away lies to reveal truth. Across Yoruba lands and the African diaspora, she remains a presence both feared and beloved. A reminder that transformation is not an option, but a law of existence. To walk with Oya is to embrace the truth that endings are not failures, but passages. Change, like death, is not to be resisted, but met with open eyes and steady heart. Her storms may unsettle, even frighten, but they also cleanse, making way for a world renewed. She invites us to stand in the whirlwind, to release what we cannot keep, and to trust that what follows will be worthy of the space we have cleared. May her winds carry away your fear. May her storms grant you the courage to let go. And may you remember that within you too lives a force that can change the world. Stand with it, move with it, become it.